Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the pre-show. Excuse me. Clear that frog out of my throat. And still just getting a little set up here. We've got sound, so that's a good thing. Let's get our banners going. Boom. And let's get this one going too. Boom. There we are. I think we're ready to roll. We're all set over on Patreon. I posted that up a little late, so that's not going to come on until about 5 minutes after the top of the hour, but that's okay. So anybody going over there, that's when you'll see that. So welcome to everybody. This is the pre-show. If you're new here, the pre-show is the prelude to the real show, which starts at 3 minutes after the top of the hour. So welcome to the program, and we'll start in earnest. This is just kind of like the warm-up show, which is more just me getting buttons and levers pushed and making sure all the lights are blinking the right way. And we'll be heading off to radio here in just about a minute. So, hey, Randall Flagg. Hey, Michael, Viking Off-Roading. Take a sip here. So, doing a lot of painting today. I wish it was artistic painting. It's painting in the living room upstairs. So, that's why I'm full of paint. We got about 30 seconds and we go live. Let me get this thing in the right spot here. Boom. There we are. We got about 20 seconds. About 5 seconds or so, we'll go dark. Don't be distressed, anyone. We go dark, and then we come on live when we go on radio. So everybody sit tight. We'll be right back.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is me, Scotty Roberts, your host of this here, my show, the Intrepid radio program, right here on Subspace Odyssey Radio. You can hear us in audio format only over at the radio station. That's odysseyradio.com, ODYSY radio.com. That station is owned by Russ Haslage and trekfederation.com. You want to go over and check out what they do, their community outreach, and check out all the other shows over on Subspace Odyssey Radio. So, or it's actually just Odyssey Radio is the website. So welcome tonight. And if you are sitting over on my YouTube, you know that this is the place to come for the simulcast in video and also to join the chat room. Now, sitting and watching my mug talk for an hour, that's not always the most enticing thing that's out there. But the beauty of this is you can join the chat room. That's where you can communicate with other members, other Intrepids, other people of like thought, and come on in and join the chat if you haven't done that already. And also go over to my Patreon page. That page is a place where you can help support this show for as little as $4 a month. And that's about the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks or someplace like that. And that helps us expand this show. So I appreciate it. And thank you in advance, as they all say. And I want to thank all of those of you who are already over there. And those of you filing in for tonight's show, you know, you can look at a topic like this where I am talking about the destruction of American values, the destruction of our kids, the fight or the battle, the struggle for winning the minds of our children. And that is what's going on. I'm going to talk about that a little more. We left off on that topic a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about stolen children, and meaning the children that are stolen by a collectivist political philosophy. And if you think this is not going on in our country right now, you would be mistaken. And you know what? This is stuff we've been talking about since I was in high school. I heard talk about this. Back in the pre-Reagan years, we heard talk of this. And we have seen it progressing slowly over the decades, the last 4.5 decades. And we've seen this kind of collective restructure. How do I want to put that? Let's go back to the fight over winning over the minds of our kids. They can't always win over the minds of adults, so they go for the kids. Now, there might not be in some of these people's minds, oh, I'm doing something horrendous. This is just my political philosophy. This is just what I believe. This is just what our institution here promotes. And we want to try to do this because we think this will make a better America, ergo, a better world. But what they are really doing is driving us down the path that in every other case in history has led to totalitarianism, to single-minded leadership, a single-minded thought, where you are not allowed to think the things you want to think, and your history goes along with that. And tell me now that you can look at our country and not find things that have been going on in the recent decade, even before that, that point to or are examples of attempts to eradicate our history, to do away with our history, to label our history as evil or something we shouldn't be proud of or something we should walk away from and be willing to walk away from. And I will tell you this, I'll be among the first that'll say, have we made mistakes in this country over our history? Yeah. Hell yeah, we have. Have the best parents out there? Parents? Let's look at that category for a second. It's like saying, I'm a parent, but I've never made a mistake. Parents make mistakes. But good parents are the parents that make mistakes, learn from it, move on, and evolve their family from it. That's where I think America has been, without the parental moniker over it, is that this country, yes, has made mistakes. We have committed atrocities of our own. We have done vile things in the name of expanding our country. We have treated people as commodities. Yes, all that has gone on, but we are still the very best place in the world to be, the very best place to raise our children, as up till now, especially, the very best place where there is freedom and liberty, and there is a constitution written by the people to set guarantees in place and protections in place to secure our God-given rights. Your view of God might be, see, this is all part of it. We got to put all these caveats in. Maybe you don't view that there's a God. I don't care. Doesn't matter. You can call it God-given rights. You can call it innate rights. You can call it human rights, whatever you want to call it. There are rights that we all have. Randall Flagg says tearing down statues over in the chat room tonight. And bingo, spot on. You cannot make a better country by eradicating your history, even the bad points of your history. But of course, everybody's going to find a point that's going to be bad. They'll look at, did you know, we all know that there's been all this eradication of, in the South, of Confederate soldiers, Confederate generals, Confederate officers that there were statues made of, because according to some, they represent the Confederate cause or they represent slavery in the South from 150 years ago. When most people living in the South don't see it as that. But the people who get offended, and I don't think they're really offended, it's a showcase offense. I'm offended, and they're doing that for show so they can eradicate things that they think ought not be there. Well, you can't promote a better country. You cannot grow as a country. You cannot learn from your mistakes if you eradicate your history. And I used to say, you are never more like ISIS. Remember ISIS? The far left radical Muslim regime over in the Middle East that Donald Trump helped eradicate. You're never more like ISIS than when you tear down your history because you don't want people to believe that or know about it. So, Randall Flagg, you're spot on there. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. The tearing down of statues, the eradicating of history. And people might look at a show like this and think, oh, this is so political. You can carry it into politics, but it's not political. It's not politics. It's not political talk. This is the events of your country. This is what makes or breaks your country right now. Hello to my lovely, absolutely stellar wife. Hi.
I wasn't going to interrupt. I was just going to show my presence. So
You're going to show your presence and say hi.
Yeah. Hi.
You can come over and say hi to everybody. Here's my wife. I know what you look like. I wouldn't invite you over if you were some hag.
All right.
There she is. There's my beautiful wife.
Scouts, be prepared.
Scouts, be prepared. So, I'm prepared.
Yeah, are you? I'm not.
I am. So, she's not going to be here long. She just stopped in to say hi to me. Hey, Leslie Holker.
Yeah, hi, Leslie.
It's our history as it happens today. Yeah. And so, when I talk about a topic like this, okay, bye. I love you.
Have a fun show.
I'll see you in a little while. When I talk about a topic like this, excuse me, still the remnants of that chest virus I had over 2 weeks ago. So when I talk about a topic like this, is to talk about our countries, to talk about our nation. You can call it nationalism, but now that's become a dirty word too. You can talk about, maybe it's patriotism. Oh, patriotism, that's become a dirty word too. So and she's already gone, Leslie. I'll share that with you. But these are the things that will make and break our nation. These are the things where Benjamin Franklin said, what we've given you, madam, is a republic. Let's see if you can keep it. Or if you can keep it, he said. And so all of this stuff that we talk about in this category, I can talk about politics till I'm blue in the face. I can talk about Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, progressives, right-wing wackos. I can talk about all the extremes, and I can talk about the elections coming up. I can talk about indictments. I can talk about impeachments. I can talk about what makes a right impeachment versus a bad impeachment. Oh, and I will say this. Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, he is drawing some criticism from fellow Republicans because he is allowing certain things to go through on the budget to keep the government funded and so on. And they say he's just caving into the left. I saw an interesting take from Kevin McCarthy today. He said, no, I'm not doing anything like that. I'm not pushing to have that stuff done to go along with what I think is wrong in the Biden administration. He says, why I am standing with them is, he said, whenever there is a shutdown in government, he says that shuts down both sides of the aisle. And he said, we need to get these things accomplished. We need to get them done. He says, so if we have to push to vote for something that keeps the government funded for another month while we try to work out all the other stuff, he says, I'm going to support that. And he said, I support this because This is the way we work the best. We don't work the best when we're off the budget and we're sent home. We work the best when we're working. So that was his take. What do you think of that? I tended to agree with him. And so, if you got to give and take a little bit, you give and take so you can accomplish your goals. I think the Biden administration would love nothing more than the government to be shut down because then nobody's working on anything. And we're talking about Kevin McCarthy also added the border crisis. He says, if we have a shutdown in the budget, he says, that sends home all our border agents. Nobody's getting paid. And he said, do you want that? No. He says, so we have to do a give and take to make sure our borders stay safe. So on and so on and so on. Leslie says there are extremists on both sides. On one side, we have people who think themselves worthy of judging others like they're God. And on the other side, we have extremists who want government to control us. That's exactly it, Leslie. Exactly it. And so I wanted to look in and I wanted to jump back into this topic that I started over 2 weeks ago, talking about stolen children. And the context of stolen children is not, I'm not talking kidnapped children, pedophilia, anything like that. I am talking about kids that whose minds the left fights for. And you're right, Leslie, and they all suck. Yeah, ain't that the truth? So I wanted to look at this, and I got to find my spot here where I left off. And we're talking about the encroachment of leftism. We're talking about wokeness. How is we left off kind of talking about how it's much easier to instill wokeness into children than in adults. And adults have fully formed personalities, if not opinions. And it's much harder to cow them into obedience. Wokeness is black and white. It's right and wrong. Exactly the kind of thing that appeals to children and why they're so susceptible to being brainwashed in the name of wokeness. And so what is raising children to be woke due to their value system and their inherent sense of curiosity? Children or childhood anxiety, mental health challenges are all at all-time highs right now. If you did not notice that. All-time highs. And is it any wonder when we're teaching children to be anxious? Elon Musk once told the satirical website, the Babylon Bee, at its heart, wokeness is divisive. It's exclusionary. It's hateful, he said. It basically gives mean people a shield to be mean and cruel, armored in false virtue. And so when you aim at that behavior of children, it teaches them to never speak up or to speak out unless they do so along authorized lines. It stunts their creativity, their intelligence, and creates malleable robots who parrot what they're told. It's something, I get a little frustrated with my daughter, Rowan, sometimes. Flynn, not so much. He's pretty common sense. But Rowan is one of those fight the system type of people. Just for the principle of fighting the system. And I said, Ro, you got to give in. You got to not be so out there. And she gives me examples because she thinks it's funny. Well, this is what I told the principal when he said this to me. And I cringe a little bit. I go, you can't say that to a principal. You're going to get nailed for that. And she said, I don't care. And when it came down to it, some of the things she said, while they were disrespectful, they were right. And I had to say, Ro, you keep doing what you're doing, but be careful about what you say. You're going to get marked. You're going to have a reputation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I wasn't a big rebellious kid in school, but as I got older, I bucked the system a little bit. It's like, I don't want to be told what to do. This is the same thing that I brought into my marriage with Rainey. When Rainey tells me to do something, I look at her and go, hey, I am not one of the kids. I take requests. I don't do orders. That was years ago I'd say that to her, and that drove her nuts. Because I said, look, we're a team. We're partners. I don't need to be told what to do. However, you can use all your persuasive methods in your arsenal to try to convince me that I need to do what you're asking me to do. So on, so on, so on. All you married people know what that's like. Leslie says, Scotty, I was over at patreon.com listening, but it was so lonely over there. Hey, everyone, go to Patreon and join. Thank you. The Intrepid broadcast. You can be a member for only $4 a month. And the thing about Patreon, when I can reach a certain level, I can incorporate, it's a rather expensive one. It costs about $50 a month. I can incorporate a chat room over there that's better than the chat room here in YouTube. Much more interactive. But I don't want to put that kind of outlay of cash right now. Patreon is there to help build this show up. So when we get to certain levels, we'll be able to do certain things. So as it grows, we'll do some stuff. But that's one of the things we can do over there. Patreon is a little lonely watching the show over there. And I want it there for people to be able to access it right now. But as we grow, we can use it more. It's going to be a great tool. So, the encroachment of leftism, I don't know what I was saying, so I got to I'm jumping back into it here. The encroachment of leftism into every single facet of American life, from academia to Hollywood to corporate boardrooms, has been going on for decades, folks. But wokeism is something novel. Wokeism demands subservience. It demands conformity. They say, I'm so woke. I'm awake. I'm awake. I'm awoke. But that you can't be awake unless you conform to what they're telling you to be awake about. If you don't wake up to the same things they tell you need to, you're not following that collective line, are you? So there's only one correct answer to any given question in wokeism. And any stepping outside of those lines, any questioning of official positions gets you kicked off of the team. You're no longer woke. Curiosity is discouraged. It's leftism on steroids. It's taking over everything. And it's not even the law of the land. It's unwritten. It's opinion. It's taking over everything. It's important to remember that just like wokesters say, they're actually fighting racism, sexism, anti-LGBTQ+, etc. So too did totalitarians all throughout history. They say they were enforcing their will on the people for the people's own good. No one ever says they're going to remake society for the worse, do they? And again, I hail to RFK Jr., who said, there is not a single instance in history where the censorship of a people was done by the good guys. So it's not for the people's good. No one ever says they're going to remake society for the bad. Every tyrant believes they're doing something good for their country. And every tyrant believes that. And that's why it's so important to recognize the pattern of tyrants and dictators. The leaders of the Soviet Union, they said they were going to usher in a more impartial, just, equitable world. And many people had to die. I knew relatives of relatives that were killed in former Soviet Union for the betterment of the country. The United States is not a totalitarian country. We elect our leadership. We can criticize our government, but the forced conformity of unfree countries has arrived at our shores, and wannabe totalitarians are enforcing it with zeal. Everything is being politicized. Have you noticed that? Everything. just like in totalitarian countries. We're in danger. Our kids are in danger. And it might not be government agencies enforcing sameness yet, but it is enforced just the same. The narrow wokeness of our time is boxing us in while removing our shared understanding of history. Our shared understanding of history is being demolished. It's being destroyed. This is where I was pointing to tonight. Ideological purity necessitates destroying the past. You get that? The leftism that's working so hard to control this country right now, the wokeness, the wokeism that they've allowed to creep in and support, this is all for a purpose, folks. There is a method to this madness. Ideological purity necessitates destroying the past. And it's happening in the U.S. today, just as it happened in places like China. And how can anyone nowadays fully embrace Maoist ideas when they may have believed competing ideas in the past? No growth or change can be permitted, only a reboot, a restart. So the past isn't that far away, folks. It's on us right now. Totalitarian forced conformity isn't just something from a long time ago. In China today, the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, makes sure that its message is central in all of the arts, all their sports, all their policies, everything from entertainment all the way up the line to serious government. The China Media Project, which conducts specialized research and engagement around developments in the Chinese media landscape at the University of Hong Kong's Journalism and Media Studies Center, describes this as the main melody, quote unquote, the main melody. The term main melody, or Zhu Zhuanlu in Chinese, one form of Chinese, is frequently found in contemporary Chinese Communist Party discourse to describe activity in the cultural sphere, including media and journalism, that sticks to the main political line of the CCP, the Zhuanlu, the main melody. And emerging in the 1980s to refer to developments in film, the phrase can now refer more generally to the need to ensure the party's voice is dominant in their media and in their arts, and it leads the chorus in this main melody. A main melody has appeared in so many different facets of American life. One tune, one chord. Once you hear the melody, you start noticing it everywhere. It's why cancel culture has accomplished wokeness, has accompanied wokeness on its ascent. One error or misplaced word can easily harm a child's life forever. And in December of 2020, just almost 3 years ago, the New York Times featured a story by Dan Levin called "A Radical Slur," a viral video and a reckoning. In it, an 18-year-old sociopath, Jimmy Galligan, is allowed to destroy the life of a classmate, Mimi Groves, for using a racial slur when she was 15 years old. Groves had not directed the slur at anyone, but had used it for excited emphasis upon getting her driver's license. Galligan held on to the video until the time when it would do the most damage. His quote, "I wanted to get her where she would understand the severity of that word." Mr. Galligan, 18 years old, whose mother is black and father is white, said of the classmate who uttered the slur, Mimi Groves. He tucked the video away, deciding to post it publicly when the time was right. and get her. He did. Levin notes Ms. Groves, in a public Instagram post, urged people to protest, donate, sign a petition, rally, do something in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. It didn't matter. She had sinned against the gods of woke, and she would be punished. The New York Times running a story about non-famous teenagers is the same kind of ideological policing that's done by totalitarians. Behave how we want you to behave, or we will pummel you. You see similarities in wokeness and in cancel culture of today. Groves was kicked off her cheerleading squad, which is big when you're in high school, and withdrew from attending the University of Tennessee after immense pressure. And it wasn't enough that Galligan got to be the hero of the New York Times story. He was also you remember the story, the Pavlik story we told? Pavlik was somebody who in Soviet Union's past in a small village stood against what he saw, and he was chastised for it and condemned. So do you see that story? If you remember that, we talked about that a few weeks ago. I'm not going to go into it any deeper. Otherwise, I'll have to open up the whole story again and tell you what it was all about. But this guy was a Pavlik. He was proudly denouncing his family for the cause. And Levin writes this, his quote, shortly after his 18th birthday in July, Mr. Galligan asked his father, a former law enforcement officer, what he thought about white privilege. The final thing he said to me is that it doesn't exist, son. Mr. Galligan recalled. He then asked his father if he'd ever been scared while walking at night or while reaching into the glove box after getting pulled over by the police. He said his father had not. That is your white privilege, Mr. Galligan said. He told his father. We've always been a second chance country, liking nothing more than the comeback. I mean, hell, look at Darth Vader. Most evil character in the movies up to that point. He had a comeback. He had a redemption. So whether by a fallen Hollywood star or a bankrupt businessman, we like the comebacks. But this new woke religion doesn't have a mechanism for forgiveness or for compassion. There are no do-overs. People get canceled with speedy efficiency. Have you noticed that? A drastic departure from traditional American values and beliefs. Leslie says over in the chat room, if I ever had any white privilege, I'd sure as hell love someone to show me where. Another term created to divide us by bullshit. You're right, Leslie. I was told so many times, oh, you're saying that out of your white privilege. I'm like, we were not white privileged. And I'll tell them, how I grew up. I grew up as a single mom. She was raising, young mom in her 20s, raising 3 kids. We were latchkey kids. We were alive because our grandfather helped her. I'm sure that's why we weren't homeless and in poverty. And she worked as a waitress. And of course, this is in the 60s and the 70s when being a waitress meant you were making about $2.50 an hour tops plus tips. And of course, economy was different back then. And we were poor kids. We had a nice house, but we were poor kids. And we were a poor family. And I was told that despite all of that, oh, and by the way, my mom was on public assistance. We ate because she got public assistance. And we ate stuff like Swanson TV dinners, pot pies, stuff like that. She'd cook. My mom was a magnificent cook, but didn't have time to cook for all the 3 of us kids because she had to go off to work. as a waitress in a seedy bar. That was a nice bar over in Northeast Minneapolis. And so I recite that back when talking to somebody about white privilege. Yeah, well, none of that matters. You're white privilege because you don't get pulled over because of the color of your skin. And I said, no, but I can get pulled over because when I drove a junker, when I drove a car that was 13 years old and had rust on it because it's all I could afford when I was a younger man, I'd get pulled over. I was targeted for that. Hey, Barbie D, good to see you. Leslie says, I grew up in a small family farm with very little. We didn't know how little we had because we had love. There it is. And so none of that matters to the woke crowd, by the way. You're white privileged and you can't argue that fact. And there is instant judgment about that. So interestingly, loneliness is often a precursor to totalitarianism. In her 1951 book, The Origins of Totalitarianism, Hannah Arendt writes, what prepares men for totalitarian domination in the non-totalitarian world. Let me start that sentence over. What prepares men for totalitarian domination in the non-totalitarian world is the fact that loneliness, once a borderline experience, usually suffered in certain marginal social conditions like old age, has become an everyday experience of the ever-growing masses of our century. And so in many ways, our modern society has moved in the direction of segmentation, with loneliness being the effect of today's world. Look out there. Look who's trying? I say they. Look how they're trying to segment our society, chopping it apart into pieces. You're white privileged. America is ripe for totalitarianism because of this. Just like the societies that Arndt's book covers, they were ripe for totalitarianism. And in writing about Arndt's book, in his own 2020 book, Live Not by Lies, Rod Dreher notes, the political theorist wrote those words in the 1950s, a period we look back on as a golden age of community cohesion. Today, loneliness is widely recognized by scientists as a critical social and even medical problem. We're told that we have nothing in common with each other. We have no shared culture. We move even further away from each other and pretend there's no bond between us. I'm thinking of pausing because it's like what comes to mind is this thing I have to go to court for next month. This it's disturbing the peace, but I keep block. I got a mental block on that. I keep saying disturbing the peace. Disorderly conduct. Why did this disorderly conduct come? Because I confronted another parent about the behavior of their kid. Their middle school kid beating up my second grade girl. Not to a pulp or anything, but pushing her down, skinning her knees on the ground. Stuff like that. I can't talk about that in great detail because I got to go to court over it now. But, and that, by the way, was, as most of you know, was why I went to jail over 2 weeks ago. I was given a summons, but they sent it to the wrong address. I never got it. I never even knew I was getting a summons. I was never arrested. I never even saw a police officer. I had one call me on the phone later that day. And he said, you may or may not get a summons to appear for this. I said, bring it. I'd be more than happy to talk to a judge. Never heard about it again. And not to recap the story in too much detail, but 2.5 weeks ago, my daughters expressed to me, Dad, there's a weird car sitting outside. It's got black windows. And so I took a look and I said, well, just keep an eye on it. And it still sat there. And about a half an hour into that, I called the police department. I said, hey, there's a weird car. My daughters are worried. They said it drove into the neighborhood. They didn't see anybody get out. I said, would you mind if you got somebody out? We're small town. We're Mayberry here, folks. Would you mind stopping by? And they did. Within 20 minutes, cops were out there, and they looked it over, and they came walking up my garage. So I opened up the garage door. I came out, and yeah, it's fine. You know, we don't find anything wrong with it. But more importantly, and I hate to tell you this, Mr. Roberts, you have a warrant for your arrest. And that was because I hadn't shown up in court. And I said, I never knew I had a summons to go to court. And I said, you guys know me. This is a neighborhood. I said, can I just go in tomorrow? This is late in the afternoon. Well, no, we can't let you do that. We got to take you in. But we won't cuff you or anything in front of your kids. I said, well, I appreciate that. I said, come on in. I got to call my wife and tell my kids. They came in the house. We stood and talked a little bit. And, of course, I went to jail. And ended up having to spend the night. The cop said, I think all you're going to have to do is go down and sign a paper, moving the court date out. So I went into the jailhouse with him. And, of course, I got booked, changed into an orange outfit and some grubby pair of nasty-looking underwear that I don't know, God knows how many prisoners had worn over the last several years that those boxers existed. Dingy, worn. And so I'm wearing this stuff. I get strip searched because I'm going into jail. And when I went to appear before the judge the next day, which was by video in a cinder block room under lock and key, they shackled my legs together and they handcuffed me and shackled me to my waist. And I said, this is all because I missed a court date for approaching a parent. It didn't matter what it was for at that point. It was that I missed the court date, and this is the process. And so the reason I bring that up is all that happened, and of course I got released, obviously, the next day. And I think I contracted whatever chest virus I had in the jailhouse. Because I was housed with 15 other guys waiting for trials or doing jail time locally in Hudson, Wisconsin. So I got home and I was really, and while I was there, I will tell you this, great attitude. I always have a good attitude. Just like I say in business, being there, you're there, you bring your attitude, you make somebody's day. I was that way the whole time, joking around with the guards and, you know, when I had a chance to. By joking around, I mean being lighthearted and saying absolutely and yes and complying and so on. And what choice did I have? I couldn't say get off my property. No, I was already in custody under lock and key. So then I appeared before the judge in shackles. And he said, how you doing today, Mr. Roberts? And I said, Your Honor, I said, despite being dressed in orange and underwear that's been washed 100 times and be sitting here in shackles, I said, I'm doing fantastic. And he kind of smiled. He says, well, that's good. Let's get you out of here. And he talked to me and we just extended out the date for the court date. That's all we had to do. So then I went home. So I only bring that story up and gave it a little detail for those of you who hadn't heard it. Yeah, Leslie, I was pissed. Trust me, I was pissed. But it did me no good to be pissed there. I saw some guys that were pissed, and they got nothing. They got put back in for another night till they could calm down. So anyway, I was pissed, trust me. And I've talked to an attorney since then and so on. It's a whole nother story now. So now I got to hire an attorney to defend me. And so the reason I bring this up is because I'm talking about how we are told we have nothing in common with anybody else, and that we've moved even farther away from each other. We pretend there's no bond between us. When I had this confrontation with this mom in this park over her older boy beating up my second grade girl, it was all, I remember my first reaction was, oh, I guess I better go talk to the parents. And I went over to the park where they were all hanging out and everybody's watching a ball game. And they said, that's her right there, Dad. And that's the kid. They were walking toward me. And so I approached her. And I said, hey, we got to talk about what happened with our kid. And she immediately launched into me. That's all I'll say about that for now. I told the story 5 months ago when it happened, back in April. But not knowing I was going to court for it. But we've moved further away from each other. A parent can no longer, the only way we are unified or the way we are coalesced together, a parent can no longer approach another parent and say, hey, we got to talk about what happened to our kids. Without somebody in the crowd, and that's what it was. There was only about 5 or 6 people around us. Everybody else was watching the game over there. We're in the parking lot. So it became disorderly conduct. Because somebody called it in. We weren't even there. We didn't even know the police had been called. One guy knew me. I didn't know him. He came up to me and goes, Mr. Roberts, called me by my name. He says, just go. Just leave this. And I said, you are right. I said, I'm out of here. This woman was ballistic. So I went home. And I got a call from the police a couple hours later, questioning me about what happened. So all of that is this thing where we've been taught not to be alike each other. Parents should be able to talk to parents in a park, especially for what we were there for 4 or 5 minutes. That was it. And I don't care, even if it got out of hand, which it didn't from me, even if it got out of hand and parents are yelling at each other, you can't yell at each other and be good citizens. So I saw that hit my head as I was talking about this point. We've moved so far away from people in our culture. And even when there's a negative, there's no bond between us. And even worse, our kids, they're led to believe that they have nothing in common with their fellow countrymen. The message is that nothing about America, its founding, should be celebrated. Nothing. We're a little bit insulated out here in a small town in the country. We're an hour from major metropolitan area, Minneapolis, St. Paul. But we're a little sheltered out here across the border into Wisconsin in a small farming town. It's not quite as strong here. But the schools in Minneapolis and St. Paul, an hour away, total opposite. The message that our kids are being taught is that nothing about America or its founding should be celebrated. There's no American history that can be acknowledged as respectable. Wokeness mocks the idea of American greatness. Everything about us is bad. Christopher Columbus is bad. George Washington is bad. Abraham Lincoln is bad. They tore down his statue too. We can no longer celebrate our first president because he had slaves in an era where everybody had slaves. Certain schools across the country have cut out the Pledge of Allegiance. My own kids didn't say it at their public schools in Minneapolis and St. Paul, despite it being law for schools to say it daily. Now, they do say it here, but not every day. Leslie says, how about the fact that when this country knew better, we did better? Over and over and over again. That's the truth, Leslie. Certain schools across the country have cut things out that bind us together as a country. It seems like a small thing, the Pledge of Allegiance. And after all, aren't we concerned about the state enforcing sameness? But saying the pledge is not mandatory. If a child chooses not to, their parents will not be dragged before a tribunal. It's the wonder of free countries that patriotism can come so naturally and without coercion. But it's coercion of a different kind when schools separate the children from their country. When I learned that my children could no longer say the pledge in one of the public schools they were in, I took the school to task on that. I wrote a letter. And I was told that they couldn't reinstate it because that the schools had kids from many different cultures. So I don't care. They're in our culture. Now they're in this country. I knew people that were raised in the Soviet Union when I was a kid that knew the Pledge of Allegiance. It was the first English they learned. Saying it was something that immigrant children growing up in many parts of this country made them feel like they were part of something. The Pledge of Allegiance. Wokeness shuns patriotism. Teaching that our American experiment is not worth celebrating, that only our individual races and past cultures matter, and nothing else matters. American traditions are in trouble too. Columbus Day out the window. But the attack on Thanksgiving has been brewing for years. It's already not an idea limited to the fringe. Revisiting the racist history behind Thanksgiving was on the liberal website Salon in 2018. But by 2020, why I'm not celebrating Thanksgiving this year, 2 years later, was in Vogue, the 4th of July, Vogue magazine. The 4th of July will be on the chopping block at some point, too. A July 2021 piece in USA Today was originally titled 4th of July, What to Do If You're Not Feeling Proud to Be an American. Where are people getting this? Where's the media getting that? If you're not feeling proud to be an American, here's what you can do on 4th of July. They later changed it to, are you ambivalent about celebrating the 4th of July? You're not alone. That was the name of the article in USA Today. These leftist ideals are ripping through American history, and it's the left who's doing all the pushing of them. Totalitarianism only works if there is a single ruling party. To get people to join, membership has to come with benefits. And among those benefits is the ability to lord your status over other people. It's okay, preferable even, if there are different rules for different people. Remember a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the beast, the Antichrist, and the beast, and the sign in the wrist and the forehead, the book of Revelation stuff in the end times. You know what that really is a picture of? Utter, total totalitarianism. You will think the way we think and do what we do, or you will be marked. You will not be able to buy or sell. You will not be able to do this and that. That's totalitarianism. It's okay, preferable even if there are different rules for different people under totalitarianism. Membership has its privilege, as the old American Express commercial says. And in September of 2020, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, said that following a Biden win in November, I need folks to realize that there's no going back to brunch. We have a whole new world to build. That's what she said. And by saying there's no going back to brunch, Ocasio-Cortez signals that no time can be taken off from the fighting for the leftist cause. But she herself lives a lavish life of luxury. The picture of her at the Met Gala, where a ticket costs over $30,000 to attend, in which she wore a white dress that had, in big red bloody letters, "Tax the Rich," printed on the back. And it was unmasked, despite all the servants around her wearing masks. She was unmasked during COVID. And she did more to illustrate the privileges of the elite than anything else could. You're not going back to brunch. But she is. She is. We got a minute and we got to say goodbye to our radio audience. The fight for our children, folks, is a fight. And it's against this exact collectivism. Your child is your child. Totalitarians will always try to sever that tie and get them brainwashed to believe something else. YouTube, TikTok, blah, 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 blah. I got so much more here to say on this. I got 10 times as much material as I covered tonight. We'll get back into it on Wednesday. It's bad enough that kids are exposed to dangerous untruths across their favorite social media apps, that is being taught in school as well. All right, radio audience, guess what? It's that time. You can join us over in the YouTube for the Captain's Cabin. It's our little after show and open to having you come in and chat with us. But until then, you know what? We got to get out of here. So all of you over in on the radio, live long and prosper. Everyone else, stay tuned.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Hey folks, this is Scotty Roberts, and this is the Intrepid Radio Broadcast. I've been broadcasting for about 20 years now, covering such topics as science, politics, the paranormal, weird science, weird world history, archaeology, and the paranormal. Everything from ghosts to cryptids to creepy things that go bump in the night. So every week I bring you 3 new episodes. Come and join my channel and also be a patron to this site. So see the details below, and we'll see you here. And welcome to the captain's cabin, y'all. Glad to have you here tonight. Elderberry, where you been? Good to have you here. Leslie, good night to you. You left a couple of minutes ago, but it's glad you made it in tonight. Everybody that's here, welcome. Barbie D, Leslie Holker. Who else was here? We had scrolling back. Oh, Elderberry, you were here earlier. Never mind. I take it all back. Michael, Viking Off-Roading. Steph, Cuervo Queen. I don't know if you're still here, but we're still here. And you were here a while back. You commented at 9:43. Well, that wasn't so long ago. It was, 20 minutes ago. So who else we got in here tonight? We had Steph, lots of Barbie, lots of Leslie. Talking Randall Flagg was here. And Josh Kemp was here. And we had a whole bunch of you, a whole lot more of you. So there's a lot more people that show up to this show than actually show up in the show. So I want to say to everybody who's here and everybody who's listening out there, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming. And I did that thing over the weekend. I colored my hair, something I said I wasn't going to do again. And one thing I noticed is that not having the white hair, when I had the white hair, I only did this because I thought it might take a couple of years off. But I still look like a guy in his 60s trying to look like he's got dark hair. So I colored my hair. I figure chicks do it all the time. Don't be offended, women. That's what I say when I'm making fun. Women do it all the time. Oh, they color their hair. They color out the gray. They color it red. Oh, I think I'll go blonde this month, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Guys, we do it like, oh, you color your hair, don't you? Well, yeah, I did. And I need a haircut, too, on top of it. But this was supposed to be closer to my natural color. It was supposed to be, I got a box that said dark blonde. Does it look blonde to you? I look blonde? Do I look like a blonde to you? No. And it came out almost dark brown. And I thought any blonder, I'd be goth. But so I got that going for me now. And one thing I noticed when my hair's white, you don't see how thin it is. Because, you got white hair and it kind of blends in with the white of my scalp, the top of my pate. And now that it's dark, you can see how thin it is. And you see the scalp right through everything. So did it make me look any younger? Did it peel years off? No. Just makes me look like an old guy who's balding. So there's that. Hey, Steph Cuervo Queen, you're still here. Right on. Elderberry's buffering. Or am I buffering? I don't know. I don't know which. So welcome to my show. Welcome to my newly found dark hair, which will fade in a few weeks back to its normal shades somewhere in there. So thank goodness. I don't think I'll do that ever again. So it was worth a try. Blah, blah, blah. So let's see. What else we got going? We got a couple of guys waiting here. We got Michael Brewer. He's waiting in the wings, and so is Uncle John. Uncle John Potter. Let's bring in Michael, and we'll bring in Uncle John. How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good. Hey, Mike.
How you doing? I figured I'd put on the hat since Wendy likes it so much.
Yeah.
Someday I'm going to figure out what's programmed wrong in my phone so I can't join the chats.
Oh, that's weird.
It always says error occurred.
Yes. Steph, I bought that soap once. It's supposed to gradually darken your hair. I used the whole bar up after, 3 weeks or something? I didn't notice anything. I think you have to have dark hair to begin with or something for that.
Uncle Dave was...
Hey, you got the book, Michael. What about Uncle Dave, Uncle John?
Uncle Dave was always jealous of me that he went dark or went gray in his 40s. And here I am at 70 and I don't have hardly any... Well, I got a lot more than I used to, but...
Yeah.
And it bothered him.
I started getting flecks of white in my temples when I was 26. So it started pretty early for me. But anyway, this is about the color my hair was when Rainey and I started dating 18 years ago. So it was a little lighter than this. So, we're losing Michael. You're
Come on
buffering,
back,
Michael.
Mike.
I see he got the book. He bought that book, and I finally got it out in the mail to him just on Friday. So he got that over the weekend. That's pretty cool.
Wait to read it if you can see
Steph says it takes 3 to 6 weeks to start seeing it. I get sucked into infomercials. I don't know. Maybe I should try. That was like, that's kind of like the new men used to buy Grecian formula. And I tried that once too. God, before I knew Rainey, because I had gray starting. And I thought I should try that. And it worked all right, but it smelled funny. It had a funny smell. It smelled chemical. And so I didn't like it. I got rid of it.
Maybe that's the Grecian portion.
Might be the Greek.
Yeah.
What's that, Michael?
I did the beard thing. Where you brush in. I never brush that shit out. It was stinky. It's like
I did some of that too to go along with this because I thought it looked unnatural to have the dark on top and white on the bottom, and it's only partially worked. See, now this was the dark blonde on my beard, but this is what it did to my head. So
I came out of the barber shop one day, drove home, and my wife said, "What did you do to your hair?" And I said, "Well, pink and purple are my granddaughter's favorite colors, and we're on our way over to see them."
So
she
you
just
colored
shook
your
her.
hair pink and purple?
Yeah,
Nice.
just for them.
That's cool.
It was the washout stuff, you know.
My girls still want to color my hair a color. I mean, we're talking color.
Yeah.
And I'm like
fuchsia
don't think
for
I'm
Cynthia.
What's that?
Fuchsia or for Cynthia?
I'd go fuchsia.
Okay.
So I'm more a fuchsia guy.
Yeah, there you go.
So I mean, they've done makeovers on me a lot, and I got pictures I put up on my Facebook of that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what Wendy's doing up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, she's doing what? What Wendy's doing what? Michael,
You know, I'm trying to figure out what Wendy's doing up at 4:30 in the morning or 4
is she
o'clock.
awake? Is she
I
here?
just got a message and it said, she said, Dr. Michael Burr. Oh, really? Yeah, she's awake.
Nice.
She's
probably
she must be
awake.
watching in the wings because I just got a
Hey,
message.
Wendy.
That said,
Are you in any position to any state to come on the show? You should call in, darling. Let's see. What time is it there? Yeah, it's 6 hours ahead from me. So yeah, it'd be 4:10 in the morning. I generally wake up at 4 in the morning. So maybe she's up. Maybe she's having coffee. Making coffee.
Yeah.
So Wendy, if you're out there, come on in. Call in. And
no, tea. You got to have tea.
I'm having tea. Yes, tea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, did you, Scotty?
Yes. What?
Did you see my little text the other day about David?
I think I did.
I come into the bedroom and flip the light on.
Oh yeah.
And I come over to put some stuff on the counter, and the light starts flickering on and off, on and off, on and off. And I said, "Dave, quit screwing around," and stayed on.
Nice. So, maybe, we never know. That's the thing. We just don't know. It could be a loose bulb. It could be whatever it might be. It could be Dave. It could be somebody else. It could be something. So it all depends, on, and sometimes we may never know.
No. And I'm good with it anyway.
Yeah. It's like I say, I'm going to be going out the 13th and the 14th. Rainey and I are joining Rocky Stucci, who's coming up for this, out at the Renaissance Festival grounds for the annual, he runs the Phantom's Feast out there several weekends toward Halloween. And so we're going out to lead a ghost hunt out there after the feast. And it'll be fun. But I've been thinking, like I've done with other people, while I'm out there, see if Dave wants to make any connection.
Yeah.
And we'll find out.
They loved it out
I
there.
got Wendy here. Hold on.
Yeah,
I think it's just vocal though. Wendy.
Good evening, boys.
Good evening. And good morning.
We got us some Wendy's.
How are you?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm not normally up this time, but Henry got me up, and literally I have just hit my leg on something. Ow. And it's got a massive bruise, and I was like, well, I'm wide awake now, so I was watching you, and then I saw Michael come and I was like, Dr. Michael Brewer, really
Doctor
and Scotty, your hair. Okay, let's talk about your hair, Scotty.
Yeah,
you look so much more sexier with the white hair. So much sexier because it really suits your persona, and that's who you used to be, not who you are now. But having said that, it's okay to color your hair from time to time. It's fun.
Thought I'd give it a try. So, well, thank you for that. It'll
Uncle John, it's lovely to see you. Did you have happy birthday, by the way?
Thank you.
Day, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, happy birthday, John.
Constitution Day, the 17th of September.
Yes.
Right. Also the birthday of my Basset Hounds.
Oh, you have Basset Hounds?
Odd little coincidence.
Jeremy Henson, welcome to the show.
Yeah. I didn't know you had a Basset Hound, John.
I have two.
I have one.
Barney and Otis.
What names?
Barney and Otis.
Yeah.
Barney, that's a great name. Obviously, I've got Henry, who's snoring now. He's got me up and everything. He's snoring away.
Now that you're awake, Mom, I'm going back to sleep now.
How old are your dogs, John?
They're good luck. Say good luck with that.
How old are your dogs, John?
John, how old are your dogs?
Oh, I'm sorry. They are a year old.
Is that all? They're babies.
So they're pups.
Yeah, they were puppies until the 1st or the 17th.
Wow. Yeah. This is the first time. Is this the first time you've had Basset Hounds?
We have had a number of Bassets. Our first was Dixie, and then we had Lily and Gunner.
Great names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gunner was from a rescue.
Yeah.
And he already had the name Gunner, and we were fine with it. So no sense confusing him.
Henry after my favorite king, Henry VIII. And so his full name is Henry Tudor. And sometimes when we go to the vet, they go, Henry Tudor. Henry Tudor.
Nice.
It's like Beulah, you know.
Tudor.
It's like Henry Tudor.
Beulah.
Nice.
But I was watching the show tonight, bits and pieces of it, and it was good to see you in your element, Scotty.
Why? Thank you. Here, you mean in the radio show?
Yeah, I was watching it a bit tonight. Normally, I'm not up this time, but as I said, Henry got me out, and then I hit my leg, and I've got this huge bruise coming. But and then Michael was like, Wendy's up, and I was like, okay, I'll say hello.
I'm glad that you came in to say hello.
Yeah, I was like, Dr. Michael, doctor of what, Michael? What are your doctor of?
What's your doctor did there, brother?
BS. Yeah, Doctor BS.
Oh, he's got a BS. Well, that's good. That's like
I think he means bullshit.
There. Yeah. Pretty much. Well. Right now, I was going to tell you, talking about puppies. Everybody knows that Wendy has Henry. She's adopted Poseidon, the 1-year-old male pit bull that's here. So that's
American bully, actually.
English mom. And,
he's a bully, American bully.
Yeah. We got to be. And so when we go to puppy school, everybody knows that Poseidon has an English mom, so he has to be real proper. And there's this long-haired golden retriever, whatever this dog is. This dog makes me and him look like Jethro. They tell this dog to sit. This dog will sit there for 9 days. I tell him to say it's lucky to get 9 seconds. And he's
Nice.
this big old goofball. He's just like, hey, look at me, boom, 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 boom. And I'm thinking, you're making me look like shit, dog. Come on, work with me.
I actually think that it's Michael that needs to train, not Poseidon.
Michael needs training.
Michael needs training, not Poseidon, because Poseidon's just Michael's like, when he gets up in the morning to take Poseidon, he's like not with it whatsoever, and he's like 300 coffees just to get with it.
Yeah.
Oh, coffees, yeah. Well, yeah.
But no. Hey, that's my treat. After puppy school, he gets the pup cup. I don't know if she got a picture or not the other day, but I told the lady, because we always go into Dunkin' Donuts. We don't do Starbucks. We don't support the woke. And I told that lady, I said, I need a big pup cup. I got a big dog in the truck with me. He had his whole nose stuck down in the bottom of this cup, trying to get all, because they spray all the whipped cream.
Trying to get coffee out?
You can see nothing but like.
He likes coffee?
Like
no, it's a pup cup. It's like cream.
Cream.
No, okay. I get it.
No, I get the coffee.
Wendy, you have a fantastic voice early in the morning, Wendy.
She does.
Doesn't she, though?
Yes.
I have often been told I have a voice that it can either seduce you or it can make you feel relaxed.
Or it can make you what? Seduce or what?
It can make you relaxed. People say to me, you should be on that, that voice app, Calm. And or maybe I should just be on that phone. Hello, good evening and welcome. What can I do for you tonight? Do you want me to call you Daddy?
Would you?
I think Uncle Dave said that to me one time. He was like, where do you work? And I'll ring up and call you.
There it is. I may have told this story once when I was in Royal Guard at the Renaissance Festival. I played one of the beefeaters, protectors of the king. And we would every day march around the site, and we had the big halberds, the big axes, and we're all dressed in red. And there was a young woman that would constantly run out from one of the booths. She had to be 18, 19, something like that. And she wore this kind of little leather bikini type of getup that was Tarzan-y looking, and big boots and short bob red hair. And she'd come running out, and she'd yell to me. The whole line of the Royal Guard were there with the captain of the guard, and she'd yell, Daddy! And she'd run over to me and jump into my arms. And I was holding her like this. And it got to the point where I'd hand my halberd to the next guard over, go, hold this, incoming. And she'd come and jump into my arms. And this had to be, around 98, 99, 2000, right around that time. And the captain of the guard started mocking me one day. He goes, she called you Daddy. And, trying to comment on my age, because I was 39, 40 years old. And I'm holding her like this, and she's got her arms around my neck, and she turns and she looks at him and she goes, I didn't call him Daddy. I called him Daddy.
It's weird, isn't it? That Daddy, when a woman says, hey, Daddy, but if a guy says Mummy, like if a guy's trying to get sexy with you and he starts calling you Mummy,
hey, Mommy, I sure like those lace panties on you.
It doesn't work.
No, that just doesn't work.
No. Freud would have a field day over that.
Oh, yeah.
No. Say, do you have starch in your knickers?
Like, I remember when Hugh Grant did.
Where is my glasses at?
Hugh Grant did that scene in Bridget Jones.
Yes.
And he goes down, he finds her pants, and he goes, oh, please tell me you're wearing those big panties. And he goes, oh, hello, Mummy. And it sounded really sexy when he does it, but it doesn't with
hey, Joyce, are you serious?
No.
I dated a girl very briefly in high school who decided she wanted to call me Daddy, and I was so creeped out I dumped her.
Joyce says you have a money voice, Wendy.
Well, that's a very nice compliment. Thank you very much.
That goes back to the 1-900, the 1-900 verse. Yeah.
I don't. I
no,
think it's.
like
I think it's the British accent as well.
I was going to have you do some voiceovers for me once, and we skipped right past that and started doing a show together.
Do you know? And it's weird because a friend of mine, Barnaby, he asked me to do an audiobook, and it was kind of a 50 Shades kind of grey audiobook. We never actually finished it in the end, and they were looking for a male voice. A male English voice to come on and do it, and you just think like, I don't know how I would have kept it straight, because some of the stuff he sent me to read, I was like, "You're serious, right? You want me to say this?" And he was like, "Yeah, you have to say this," and I just couldn't do it with
I think I'd like to do one like that with you, a reading of a book like that. You're all serious doing your 50 Shades of Naughty voice. And I could do Pee Wee Herman. I'd be Pee Wee Herman. Son, you want to have sex? I can't even do him anymore.
Such a creep, isn't he? I was so disappointed with 50 Shades of Grey as well, because after reading the book,
I never read it.
The guy who played him, no.
Hey, you see, I got this paint all over today. We've been painting today. We bought some.
Naked Twister. Yeah.
Thank you, Barbie D. She says, "Good show." Yeah. We bought, Rainey and I got a little bit of tax refund money back, and we went and we bought some wood laminate, the sheets about like this and about 4 feet long. And you can get all different kinds of, looks like a wood floor, costs a fraction of getting a real wood floor. And so we were looking at patterns of wood grain. And there was this one that looked like just nice rustic old wood floor. And so we got it, and it was on deep discount. We got it for like, I don't know, 75 cents a square foot. And which is pretty good when a lot of the good stuff was $4 and $5 a square foot. So we got some. And I took a couple of pictures here. I'm going to call them up and show you. This is what we got for our floor. It looks like this. Now that's the fake wood. It's a laminate wood, and that's just two pieces of it. And we had to strip down the whole room first, though, which we did yesterday. We pulled up all the old carpeting, and I got to tell you, Wendy and John and Michael and everybody listening, that stuff was disgusting.
I bet.
This had been a rental house, and the carpet was old. We could get it kind of clean, and it was about the color, the overall color you see of this wood here, but it was nasty. And we'd start walking in the house lately when it got humid outside for the summer. You could smell that. And every kind of dog or cat and smoke, they used to smoke in the house, and spilled stuff, and it was just, we'd light incense because of the carpet. And finally, Rainey said, let's take some of that tax money and get some of this laminate and put it in, so we got the laminate, and we stripped up the carpet yesterday, and it was nasty. You almost didn't want to, made you want to go, every time you were breathing the air. And that powdery, like baking soda based type of stuff you can sprinkle on rugs to freshen them up, and then you vacuum and so on. There were so many years of layers of that shit underneath the rug into the padding, and we lift the padding up, and some of it would just shred. And Rainey and I, we were sweeping, and the kids were all helping. We're sweeping piles of this, and the house smelled like old perfumed baking soda carpet crap. And we vacuumed all that stuff over and over again. Oh, it was nasty, Michael.
Thank you for not inviting me to participate.
Yeah, we were gonna say, hey, we got a barbecue going at our house tonight after we clean up the carpet. So Joyce says, is that gray or supposed to be tan? It's kind of a combination, Joyce. It looks like rustic rough sawn. It's even got saw marks on some of it, and it's not real wood, so it's stuff that they took molds, I guess, of real wood. And you see the one in the upper right.
I've got a carpet just like that in my hallway, and I've been waiting for my landlord to come in because apparently all the floorboards, the original floorboards, because I live above a shop, and they're all rotten. The kitchen, the bathroom, the hallway, they're all rotten. They're supposed to come in, take them all out for years now, and put something in, and the landlord still hasn't done it. And I thought to myself the other day, I don't know if I'm because I know how rotten it is underneath. I don't think I should take that carpet up and put laminated down, because there was a flood. They didn't clear the gutter ends, and the water came in under the door, and now the carpet's rotten. And they won't do it. And if you ring the landlord up, it's like, well, he lives in Australia. We have to email him. And then, and I just think to myself, I just want to, I love where I live, but I just want to move, because when you rent, you're paying someone else's pension, someone else's, and I don't know at the age of 53 if I'm ever going to have my own place now, but I would kind of like to have somewhere which is not so unhealthy, because underneath those floors are on.
Well, we're stripping up. And we went ahead and we're going to paint as well. We already painted. That's why I'm full of paint. We thought, well, we have this off. Let's paint. Rainey had gotten this paint that it looked white when I first saw it, slightly off white, but you see it in the light. It's got a pinkish undertone to it, almost like a pearl, like pearl finishes on cars, almost like this light white pink undertone that you can kind of see in the right light. And so she had already a couple of months ago painted one of the main walls in the living room. And to go along with this nasty carpeting, the people who had been in before in this house, they painted one wall dark chocolate brown. And it's just like, what a drab color. And I said I would never paint the interior of a house dark chocolate brown. Maybe a dustier, dark brown that's not rich like chocolate, but it's got that dusty quality to it. Maybe if the setting was right. But so we were looking at colors, and so we were painting today. Here, I'm going to show you a neat picture. Here's the color we started putting on the wall. Here's the living room. That's the bare floorboards. And we found this paint. You can see that kind of pinkish color on the wall going down the hallway on the left. But these other two walls are this dark blue called Stellar. And it's a really dark blue. And you can kind of see here when the room lights up, you get kind of the idea. So it's that pinkish tint to the wall, and then that dark stellar blue. And then we'll have this this wood down on the floor. And I think it's going to look really nice.
Yeah. That's quite a big room, Scotty. That's really big.
That's our main room. Yeah, this is the living room, the main room of the house. And then it goes down this hallway. You see where the white wall goes back into the shadow there. That's a long hall that goes down to the bedrooms. Yeah. And then this is the front door over on the left, and the stairway going downstairs to the office on the other side of this wall in the background. And so, it's going to be really nice. We got this all painted up today. Probably do one more coat of paint on the blue walls and let that dry. Then we're going to get down to putting down the wood laminate. And I think it'll be a nice looking room. I got to tell you. And so we don't own the house outright yet, but we're buying it. It'll be we have an option on the lease. And so we said, you know what? We're not going to ask her to put in new carpeting and all that. We're just going to do it. And so
did you get permission to do it? Because I have to ask.
No, she told us way at the beginning, she said, anything you want to do to the house is your call.
No, I've got to, I have to ask permission to do pretty much anything.
See, I figure if we improve the house, nobody's going to worry about it.
No.
All we've done now by doing this, we're improving the value of the house. And the carpet was just nasty.
That's the way it is here. It's the only rule I have is don't tear the house down.
Yep.
That's the only rule. Don't.
And I think I would ask them permission, to do anything major. Like when we had to have the basement was flooding, and so she came out and she paid to have new drain system to a drain field run out from the basement windows, the window wells. So that was good. She paid for that, and then we paid for doing things like putting in new faucets and new doors. Some of the doors had holes in them and things like that.
So does that mean we're going to get semi-naked photographs of you doing housework? Because I noticed in the the photographs of Rainey,
well, there's Rainey in the background of this picture.
But it's like, where's you, Scotty, with the half the top pulled in a certain way and your butt sticking out a certain way, and we need those kind of photographs because we're only seeing Rainey, and it's like, where's Scotty?
Well, I'm the one taking the pictures.
Well, we need to have photographs of you now.
Yeah, I'll see what we can muster up.
Because I mean, Rainey's she's a sweet looking girl and everything, but like for the ladies, where's the eye candy? Where's the man?
All right, I'll see what I can do. This, by the way, in this picture right here, Rainey sitting back there, she's sitting there just in her panties, and I said, I got to get a picture of the room, and she said, I'm just sitting here in my panties, and I said, that's fine. I said, just don't move, and she threw her sweater over her lap, and there she sits.
Scotty, you are terrible.
There it is.
Honestly, you're so naughty.
I am.
You got to take it where you get it, right?
Oh,
what's
my
that,
goodness.
Michael?
I said, you take it where you get it. A funny story about Wendy's voice. When I first started talking to Wendy and I had left the VA, and I was in the hospital, and she had left me a voicemail, and I pulled it up and I was listening to it, and my neighbor was driving me home, and she said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go home and take care of myself like she told me to," and she said, "Her voice, she said her voice, and another woman had commented, no wonder you're going to go home and do what she said. She said her voice is just something different. And she said, what was it? She said, what was it? Because I told you it was something like, was it sultry, something another? She said it.
It was sultry. And the thing about my voice is that it got deeper because I suffered with endometriosis, and they put me on steroids for some time to actually bring it into line, and it changed my voice. So for years I didn't like my voice because I thought, God, it's too low or whatever. But now people rave about it. They go, oh my God, you've got such a sexy voice, you should I'm like, really? Oh
yeah.
God.
Really.
Well, I
but
hope
I think
so,
it has to do with the British accent. Well,
potentially.
It does.
And
it's about the British accent.
And I just think all of them's cute. Even her mom's accent. I love her mom's accent. Her mom's accent is so sweet.
Oh yeah. She's got the
when she's fussing.
Dignified elderly
she's very
British
different,
lady,
isn't she?
Yeah.
And as I said, I'm not normally up at this time, so
it.
my voice is very deep this morning. And I'm like, I thought I'd just come on and say hello, and also to remind everybody that next week, fingers crossed, 26th of September, I will be back with Scotty doing Roberts and Robertson.
Yes.
We have a really good show lined up because
we do.
I have two British guests that are coming on. One is an author who wrote One Autumn in Whitechapel, and he is a Jack the Ripper kind of
aficionado, you could say.
He is. And then we have my friend Jack coming on as well, who does the Jack the Ripper tour. So he actually is impassioned about Jack the Ripper. And then obviously we're hoping to get is it Jeff Mudgett or
Mudge, is it Mudgett?
Yeah, we're hoping to get him
what
on.
His name is. That's through Kenny Ballos, the connection with that guy's book.
So it's going to be a really good show because the English side completely disagree with the guy who wrote the American side. So it's going to be kind of interesting. And also, how many years have we been doing Robertson now, Scotty?
Well, Robertson, we only started that. We did 6 months worth of shows before we had to go off for a while.
Yeah.
So almost exactly 6 months, not missing a week. If we missed a week in there, I'd be surprised. I'd have to look back. But yeah, you can look at our Instagram. You can go to Robertson. It's Roberts N. Robertson. I think there's hyphens in there.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go over to mine right here on this YouTube channel and scroll down. You'll see the Robertson.
I still need to get all those episodes sent to the Robertson YouTube, because at the moment they're only on yours.
Jeremy says, wow, it just played a commercial right in the middle of your live stream. Is that normal now?
No.
I didn't even know it did that.
No, I didn't.
I didn't notice anything on this end, Jeremy.
No,
that's crazy. And then also I have to quickly plug on Sunday,
I don't know if it's
the 24th
or what, but I'm having a lot of buffering right now.
It's coming and going.
I don't know if you're...
Is everybody out there watching? Is my stream buffering off and on?
I don't see it buffering at all.
Yeah, I don't notice it on this end. So,
but I see Michael comes and goes.
Michael's a little choppy.
Yeah,
earlier, not lately.
Because I just checked my... Yeah, because I just
sorry, Michael.
Right now, and it says I'm got a gig
with Robertson. Our first show aired. Here, I'm going to look at it right now, Wendy. Our first show.
It was September, October.
Well, it says 10 months ago. They don't give you the date.
I think it was around September. It was late September, early October, something around that October time.
It said 10 months ago, and there's no date.
I think we're coming up to a year.
Yeah, we're coming up to a year. And then we were off for a few months, as we mentioned last time. Just some illnesses and all different kinds of things like that. So
this has been probably such a shit year. It has been so shitty. And I mean, to lose Uncle Dave as well during that point, but it's like it has been a shit year, and I cannot wait for it to go. And there's been some great things happen. You know, you've met new people, you know, and there's been some wonderful things that have happened, but predominantly it's been a terrible year. I hate it. I can't wait for it to go. And normally I travel across the ocean, and people say, "Were you coming out to Calgary this year?" And I'm like, "No, I'm stuck here in the UK for a while because I just can't afford to."
I'm stuck here in the UK.
I can't afford to travel, which is understandable. This year I can't. Yeah, someone can travel, but he doesn't. Obviously, we've got to like cross all the T's and I's.
I'm expired.
Yeah. Somebody's.
Oh, you need to get your passport back.
Okay, folks.
Get your passport. Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael. If there's anybody here,
I told Uncle Johnny he need to get his passport.
Yeah. Anybody here who has not seen Robertson, I'm going to share my screen. You're not going to be able to hear much, but this is the look of Robertson. Let's see. I don't think you can hear the sound through the shared screen, but so this was our show number 18.
Oh.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I send a lot of people episode 1, and they go, "Oh my God, they love episode 1." But the most popular we've ever done is long distance relationship, and all the ones about sex. They tend to go really well.
Yeah.
Here we go. There's prepping for the show.
Look at that.
Lower your top.
Yeah.
Wendy, you got to tip your camera down a little bit.
Put the girls up.
So that's a little taste of Robertson right there. So we did 26 episodes.
Oh, you forgot. What day is Wicked Women coming back?
Wicked Women is coming back this Sunday on
Wicked Women should be back next Sunday.
Yeah, so Wicked Women comes first because obviously
What
it's
is it,
Sunday.
3
We are
3
back
p.m.?
this Sunday. And we are coming back at 10 o'clock UK, and I think it's 5 o'clock. Oh, no, I've got Michael will know the times better than I do, but it will come back this Sunday at 10 o'clock UK. You give what are the times, Michael?
Yeah, 5 o'clock Eastern. Now, if it's 10 o'clock UK, it's 5 o'clock Eastern. Okay, it is 5 o'clock Eastern.
Yes,
4 o'clock
Steph.
Central.
Damn Skippy.
3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. What is it? West Coast time?
It's 3 o'clock in Calgary. Yeah, Mountain time.
Yeah, West Coast. Yeah,
and we've had to take a sabbatical because obviously I've not been great, and then Val I think wasn't herself well, but we are coming back, and our first episode, which has been waiting to play, is called Sexjected, and it's all about it's if you've been rejected for sex, or you've rejected someone for sex. And it's quite topical at the moment because everyone's saying Russell Brand is in the news at the moment, being accused of being this sex predator.
That's because they're trying to take him down.
Absolutely. And he's been very promiscuous. He's always talked about how promiscuous he's been. You only have to read his book, My Bookie Book, to read. And I'm not saying that he hasn't had dark moments in his past, but he's been very open. But isn't it sunny? All of a sudden, he's got 4.6 million on his YouTube, and he talks against the narrative, and the next thing you know, he's got this going against him, and this is really serious because now it's gone to the police, and the police have it on record, and they've actually postponed his tour. This is a man who's got 2 children. He's got one on the way. He's got a wife, and I keep saying to people, look what people did to Johnny Depp before the truth come out. Johnny Depp had his career and his life turned upside down by a person who had their own initiative to do it, and he had to get it back. And even now, the guy lives in England pretty much most of the time because he doesn't want to come back to the States all the time because he was vilified so badly out there. And now Russell Brand's going through it, and I'm seeing everybody look at it on their social media going, oh, he's guilty. I watched the program and my head and my heart, and it's right bullshit until it's done 100% and you see all sides to the story. You do not know if the man is guilty or not. What he's guilty of right now is being in the public eye, having a very promiscuous past, and people all of a sudden coming out the blue. Why did they not come out years ago when he hit fame? Why did they not come out then? And all of a sudden,
Jeremy Hansen said it perfectly. Tell the truth and prepare for your own destruction.
Absolutely.
That's about it.
And I think that's a show that perhaps we could do something about. Scotty, we should do a show on that. Sorry, Michael, to interrupt there.
We should. Told me about that.
What was that, Michael? Sorry.
I said, quick. She told me about that the other day. I said, the reason they're going. Oh, let me move this. I said, as quick as she told me about that the other day. I told her, I said, it's because he's speaking the truth. He is speaking against their narrative. I said, as quick as you tell the truth, they will come after you. But as quick as she told me that, I told her, I said, it is because he is speaking out against the left. So they can't leave him and take his career.
It's like what we're talking tonight on the show.
I made you, I can unmake you. And then
we're talking on the show earlier tonight.
Dave Chappelle several times
about the collectivism of the left, and you need to be part of what they are putting forward, or there is hell to pay. And we're seeing more and more of that.
That's it.
As you said, there's no forgiveness.
There's no forgiveness. No.
No.
And also, I mean, people forget Russell Brand is actually a former addict, and he was very much under the influence of, I believe it was alcohol and drugs, and he's pulled himself out of that, and he's, you know, he was married, and he's no saint. He is no saint, and he's the first person to say, I'm not a saint. I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of.
Sure.
And, you know, he did a lot of stuff that people look back on and go, really? But, you know, at the end of the day, everyone's allowed to change their life around. And if they make their life, if they make a difference and they make it better. But now I watched the program on Saturday, Dispatches on Channel 4, and they always find clips of where he was talking in different areas, and then they put in the woman's story, and then they put a clip in, and they talked about, and I'm trying to make this the most tactful I can. He talks about when he likes a blowjob, which is given, and which makes your mascara run. That is a joke that he did many years ago on TV.
Yeah.
And then a woman comes on, and she's in the dark, and she's saying, he forced himself down my throat until my mascara run. And I just thought, you know, when you watch the show, you just thought, you know, and I saw what they did to Johnny Depp. They literally ripped that man, and now of course he's been found to be innocent, and everyone's like, well, of course we already knew that. No, you didn't. You ripped him apart, and you were on Amber Heard's side about how dreadful it was what they did to Amber Heard, and how she could go through all that, and now you're going to do it to Russell Brand. What is it? What have we become? It's like COVID. When COVID happened, if you didn't have the vaccination, you were scum. You were scum. You weren't allowed in. I actually saw it on my friend's Facebook page. Let those who are not vaccinated look through the window at those in the warm inside who have been vaccinated, because you're terrible people. You've not been vaccinated. And I just think to myself, what have we become as human beings, that we are so easy to rip somebody down because it's not the narrative?
Well, and that's it. That's where that comes from. It comes from, we must destroy you if you do not follow our narrative. And we're seeing that more and more and more and more. And I don't give a good rat's ass what somebody did 20 years ago, you know, unless they murdered a bunch of kids and buried them under their house. It's different. If you lived a wild lifestyle, which, what was it that was being pushed in the 60s, the 70s, a little bit into the 80s till the whole AIDS movement started? AIDS thing started was free sex and free love and all of this. And now if you live that lifestyle, now it's something that every little detail comes out. Every little something comes out. Like I said, I had somebody in my past, and I'm not ashamed to talk about this. Somebody came out of it, you know, just before I started dating Rainey, right at that cusp, about 18 years ago, somebody made a claim that, or they said, somebody I had never even dated. It was just somebody we hung out a lot, friends with benefits, and had said that I had raped her once. And I called her and I asked her about, now this is way back at the beginning of all this political, you know, if a woman says no, it means it's rape, you know, or if a woman says no, it's hard to get. Which one was it? You know, we're talking 18 years ago. I don't remember the incident, to tell you the truth, other than it was the same thing that took place almost every other Thursday of my life at that point for several months. And she never said anything to me. There was never any problems. There was never any, but the accusation came out, and I asked her about it. And I said, somebody told me that you said you felt I raped you. And she said, oh, Scotty, she said, you know how people talk. She says, no, I never said that. So what's very interesting in all of that stuff is that somebody who didn't even say it, somebody else picked up something she said, and who knows what was actually said out there.
But I had that to me last year. Do you remember when I was dating someone? They were like, you violated me. And I was like, oh, excuse me, what? And it's like, so I went through that last year, and it really affected me mentally. And it because I was like, oh my God. And I think this is a show that perhaps you and I should look at, and we should perhaps look about, your example, what happened to me, and then you can, with Russell and with Johnny, and I'm sure there's other people out there as well that have been accused of doing something, and none of us are innocent, none of us are saints. We've all fucked up, we've all done things in our past that we're not proud of, but I think you have to own your shit, and you have to say, look, that's what I did then. But I mean, unless, as you say, unless you're like molesting children and or killing,
there's things that obviously cross the line.
Exactly, but at the same time, I mean,
see you, Joyce.
It's a good man's life. And then she said, "Oh, I feel sick watching him on his show now and how." And if you actually watch Russell Brand, he actually doesn't say anything. He leaves it to you to make a decision whether you are.
And it doesn't make me sick just because somebody came out with an accusation. You know what? Accusations are a dime a dozen, especially when you have lived a lifestyle where you were that way. As for me, like when there wasn't even an accusation or nobody accused me of anything. It bothered me for a half a minute that somebody would have circulated, because I was just never that way. That wasn't my style. That wasn't the kind of thing I did. I didn't, for me, sex was something that I engaged in because everybody enjoyed it involved. Everybody, the two of us involved.
But I think
forcing myself on somebody would have been ridiculous.
People change. Also, some people that you date, they can change their narrative against you because you upset them, or it ended badly, or there was an argument, and the next thing you know, the person that you loved or you trusted or that you thought you knew turns into someone completely different and comes up with all this stuff against you, and you're like, where the hell did that come from? And it really just makes you realize that when you're in a relationship with someone, and this is another thing I was thinking about, we should talk about, how much do you actually share? How soon do you actually share this stuff before they can use it against you? Because if you talk about your past with someone you're dating, and then they use that against you, that's another horrible thing that can happen as well. And I think it's like, where is the part, and this is perhaps the next show, when is the past the past, right? And when do you leave it in the past? Because you can't keep dragging it around in the future. You can't just go, well, actually 6 years ago you said this and did this and you didn't pay for it, and I want you to pay for it now, because technically that's what they're actually saying. And we've already seen what's happened with over in the UK. They did the DJs, they did Jimmy Savile, and they did other people from the past, and rightly so if they were found guilty of it. But it's like, until you're actually in a court, I mean, Johnny Depp was found guilty in the United Kingdom through the Sun newspaper. This is how it all began. He took the Sun newspaper to court, and they brought in Amber Heard as a witness. But then Johnny Depp went to a court in America and took it against her, and that's how he was found innocent. So that court case between him and the UK newspaper still stands. And it's like, as I said to you, when does the past go? And when do you actually move on? Because I think that every relationship we have, Scotty, is our past going to come back and bite us?
Right. It could. There's things I don't have too many worries about my past, to tell you the truth. I don't. Even with this particular young woman, I don't worry about that because I knew her and she already told me I never said that. I'm not worried about it. Lost Wendy. I don't worry about Wendy. If you want to call back in, call back in. Steph says, well, if they're afraid they are seeing those past tendencies, they may grasp onto it. Or it's someone just wanting to point the blame on you and not themselves. I agree, Steph. There's Wendy again. Yeah, I got nothing in my past that really scares me or worries me. I've always worked very hard to be a decent guy. Does that mean somebody might not try to drum something up on me or make something out of nothing. If that's out there, I don't know what it would be, but there it is. And but it doesn't. I'm not particularly worried about it because I never really had any really bad relationships in that respect. It would all have to be somebody creating something out of nothing.
And I think when you're on a show, and I was talking to Michael about this at one time, when you go on YouTube or when you put yourself out there, it's out there forever, unless because you delete it, but it's out there forever. And it's like it can be and will be held against you, and your past will come back and haunt you. And you have two options. You can own it and say, look, let he who hasn't sinned cast the first stone. Or you just basically you just got to say, look, that's who I was, that's who I was then. It's not who I am now. And everyone's allowed to fuck up and make mistakes. However, if you did something and you hurt someone or you did something else, you own it and just say, I can't take it back. I wish I could, but I've made a difference in my life from this point onward. And I think that with Russell Brand, using him as an example, the guy has definitely improved his life in so many ways. And now it seems like he's going to be, I reckon this could go quite criminal and that it'll end up in a trial somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it goes.
Well, and hopefully he doesn't have to go through all that crap, but he's already seeing the rudiments of that. And you know why it's happening. It's because of what he's talking about. It's because of what he's doing.
Yeah.
Somebody out there drummed up somebody that could have somebody went through all his records, his history to find out what's the dirt we can find and what can we do to shut him up. And sometimes it's not about shutting somebody up. It's about somebody stepping so far outside your narrative that you have to shut him up just to prove that you're stronger than they are.
Well, Scotty, I hope they don't find out the time I sexually violated you, because
I'll never tell. So that's our little secret. So
I mean, don't say anything.
But
what, Michael?
I said it's a Borg mindset, assimilate or die. That's what they want. They want you to assimilate.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And totalitarianism.
I don't have to restart my router. I don't know what's wrong with this thing.
Needs absolutism. You cannot stray from the track.
I have to say, it's been so much fun spending half of my night with three men. Thank you so much.
There it is. And on that note, we're pretty much ready to wrap up. It's 11 p.m. here.
Yes, I'm going to bed now.
And Wendy, what is it? It's 5 a.m.
It's 5 a.m. I'm going to go try and get some sleep now. But it's been fun to be with Uncle John. Lovely to see you, and to be with you, Scotty, and with you, Sir Michael Brewer. And
Dr. Michael Brewer, yes.
But it's like, thank you so much, guys, for including me tonight. And I will hopefully see you. If I don't see you anymore, I will see you on Sunday, and I will see you on next Tuesday.
Well, absolutely, Wendy. We'll see you for Wicked Women this coming Sunday.
Do you actually still have that clip of Wicked Women that I sent you?
I do. And I would have to upload it in here to be able to play it, which I can do. But
was it the sex-jected one that I sent you?
Yes, I think so. I think, if memory serves, you sent me one that was the wrong one, but then you sent another one.
I wonder if it'll allow me to send it to you. Actually,
do send again.
I will, and perhaps you can just at the end of the show sling it on.
Yeah, not tonight. I won't, because I'd have to upload it. But all right, Wendy.
Boys, have a great night.
Love you. Talk to you soon.
Love you too. Bye.
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 See you, Michael. Oh, Michael's gone too. Oh, John's gone. There, everybody's gone. So, folks, I want to thank you all for being here. Thanks for being part of the show. We're going to get out of here. And remember, we'll be back on Wednesday with the same kind of format. Show at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m., 10 p.m. Eastern, and then followed by the Captain's Cabin. So all of you, thanks for being here. Live long and prosper.